What happened was.
Hey friends, it's so nice to see you. It's today, the time is now. You are here and the weather is outside your window.
Today's guest is one of the most exciting writers in the opera industry. Please welcome author and Opera Wire journalist, Christopher Ruel.
Hi.
Hi, Zach.
How's it going? Great to see you.
It's going really well. It's good to see you too.
Yeah, where are you?
I am in New Jersey.
Excellent. Where do you live?
I live in the furthest northeast corner of New Jersey. So as the crow flies, about 12 miles from New York City.
Oh, amazing.
As I drive, it's probably about 15, 20 miles. So
Right.
far.
and anywhere between what, a half hour and 3 hours depending on traffic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Perfect. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This is cool to be able to interview you, considering we met when you interviewed me.
Yeah,
So,
it is. It's interesting being on the other side of the desk.
a twist of fate.
It is.
Well, you're one of my favorite writers, and I love how you illuminate the opera world in a really unique way. And it was really lovely to be hooked up with you for our initial meeting. And I've loved following your work over the past couple of years. So I wanted to ask you, how did you get into this field? Because there's a thing they say, right, that anyone can be a critic. So that's one thing. It's true, but to actually, there's good critics and bad critics, and I don't mean that based on whether they write a good, positive review or a negative review. I mean, there's informed, educated critics who go into it, I think, with the right intentions, and then there's those that don't. But yeah, in addition to writing critical reviews, you're also a journalist and you're an author, and I can tell that you're coming in from all angles in everything you write, which is really cool. So, how did this come to be?
Well, what happened was, accidental, to be perfectly honest. I'd always loved writing. I'd always loved music. And when opera fan, and I started reading Opera Wire, and I saw that they were like, join our team. And so I emailed, and David got back to me, who's the editor-in-chief, and he wanted to see a writing sample. I sent that in, and the next thing I know, I get a response back, and he said, "Who do you want to talk to?"
Wow.
And I was like,
so quick.
Zach James.
No.
No, the question really caught me off guard, because at the point, it just was so shocking to be kind of handed that responsibility, and also just trust that was placed in me. So it just went from there. And a lot of the initial interviews that I got came from David and from PR people. And so from there, though, as I got to know different artists, I was like, I would like to speak with that person. I would like to speak with this person. So wow. It's grown.
Yeah.
Where it started.
Absolutely. What's the most surprising element of speaking with anyone that you've spoken to?
You're normal people.
That's very kind.
No, I think that's the really biggest thing, is that if you're at the Met, if you're at any opera house, and you're seeing someone like yourself, or let's just say Stephen Costello, whoever, on stage, and you see them as this star, right? As opposed to a real human being. And then when I have conversations with artists, it's like, these are everyday people. They have an extraordinary gift, but they're working, again, thank goodness, And there's, it demystifies. That's what I mean by human. The artist becomes demystified as we talk, and we start to talk person to person, and there's no longer this, oh, you go up on the Met stage, a couple nights a week, and I'm kind of over here. It's more like, no, we're two human beings, and we
Right.
love an art form, and you get to perform it, I get to enjoy it, I get to write about it and be part of that industry. So it really is just this understanding of each other as human beings. I think that's,
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love the word demystifies. I've actually been using that word a lot to describe kind of this big advent of virtual programming this past year, right? The virtual digital thing that we've all been embracing. I think it's demystified a lot of the opera scene, and has invited audiences in. And I think we've built new bridges to audience because of all of this, content, and and the separation between content and art. And so how has the last year changed what you do? And what do you see as the future of like climbing out of this moment? Where are we going? And what do we do with all this virtual stuff as we return to live?
the I'll start with the last part. You're absolutely right. It has made artists in the art form far more accessible. There's not this hump of, to go to the opera house, I have to get dressed up,
Right.
and I have to, it's going to cost me some money. There's dinner involved. There's what have you. And what the pandemic brought about was this, all of a sudden opera was in our houses, and opera artists were in our houses, and
Yeah.
we saw them, much as you said and as I said, demystified. A lot of times we saw directly into an artist's house, and
Right.
again, that was the humanizing factor. It's like, oh, your house is kind of like mine. It's
Yeah.
it's not it's
Yeah. There's some mansions out there.
so that was a really positive aspect, I think, that came out of a period of really intense darkness.
Yeah.
But what I hope stays is exactly that. I hope that the virtual does not get kind of thrown out as we move back into live performances, because there is that accessibility. There's also the ability to say, hey, you know what? Come on over. I'm watching this really cool opera. I'm watching The Nose.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
Or, something that just is going to be so captivating.
right.
It's not like, hey, come to the opera with me. It's, hey, come on over and we'll watch something cool. Trust me.
Yeah. That's such a good point. And it's low pressure, because if you don't like it, you can get up and leave, right?
Right.
But you're also inviting someone in to see something unlike anything they've ever seen when you're talking about a production of The Nose, right? Especially that production at the Met. It's like, you'll never see anything like that.
No.
It's a nightmare and a dream combined all at once. And incredible. But and that speaks to what opera does. It presents like the biggest ideas, or it has that capability, and a broad spectrum of everything in between.
Yeah. And the good thing also about being home is you can introduce them to Wagner and to pause it, and you can say, you can go use the bathroom.
Yeah. Right.
This 5-hour opera is going to take us actually about 7 or 8, because we're going to take a lot of breaks.
Yeah. A half hour at a time over the next year. Yeah. Well, so what was your introduction to opera in your life?
It's a story that I love to tell. My wife and I, we had gotten season tickets a number of years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And we actually didn't end up going just because of our schedule. And then a couple of years later, I saw, it's like one of those web advertisements that pop up, a pop-up ad. And it was, the Met had discount tickets. I think it was Anna Trebko who was performing, and it was Manon Lescaut.
Oh, wow.
And so we got, we got a box. It was a balcony box
Hmm.
right above the pit, right above the stage. And so, yes, part of it was you couldn't see, but you could see everything center stage and everything, going on stage right. Um, and the part that struck me most was the final act. And you have these big orchestral swells, and you know that something tragic has already happened. They've already, they've gotten on the boat, they're in New Orleans, and all of a sudden these orchestral swells. And I kind of just sat there and like, can you just keep doing that over and over again? Because
Mm,
you are bringing up such emotion in me
mm.
just from the music itself, that I was captivated. I was almost in tears because it was just such a powerful emotional experience that then I was hooked. That was
Yeah.
Man on Let's Go was my gateway drug into opera.
I love that. I love that because it's off the beaten path, but it's still, a pretty well-known piece. And
Yeah, and it's
yeah,
one that I enjoy listening to. And maybe it's because of that, but it is, and usually
yeah.
I'll go right to that final act just to relive that moment and kind of have a similar visceral experience as much as I can,
Wow.
from a recording.
Yeah. I had a really similar experience, and it was also in a box
Mhm.
at the Met when I was a student in college. And I went down and I got one of those cheapy cheats for Rosencavalier.
Mhm.
I don't know why. It just was like, sure that, I wanted to try out the Met.
Mhm.
And I remember at intermission, I saw this empty box and I was like, I'm going to move up there. And I didn't really know protocol because, other theaters, you can move around, whatever, empty
Mhm.
seat. So I went to the director's box, which,
I love it.
yeah. But that trio at the end, I'd never heard anything like it.
Yeah.
And similarly, it was like, with Strauss, it was the suspensions that were just like tugging
Mhm.
at your heartstrings.
Mhm.
And I was just addicted to that music, and I had to listen to it again and again and
Yeah.
again. Yeah, to
I
feel
think
that thing that you're talking about.
I think when everything opens back up, it it's it was such a great experience being in that box. And my eyes would go from the pit to what was happening on the stage, because I found the pit almost as interesting as what's happening on stage. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously they're simultaneous. I want to see what the conductor's doing.
yeah,
I want to see what's going on. I'm a huge fan of the string section. I want to see what they're doing. I want to see the different bowing. I want to see all of that kind of stuff. So that one eye is going down to the pit, one eye is on stage. So I'm trying to take it all in at once. And we've actually kept some of, we haven't moved down because we actually like being able to see all of the action, even though some of it is a little bit
yeah.
included. But that big picture, if you're sitting in the orchestra seat, you can't really see the orchestra.
No, no. Yeah, it's all part of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, when I try and sell opera to people in New York, and I'm saying, you have to go to the Met. I mean, first of all, most people think it's expensive, and
Mhm.
there are cheap seats, of course. Secondly, people think you have to dress up, and you don't. And but I always say, like, even if you hate the show, you're gonna be part of this experience where you're in a room with thousands of people. And even if you just watch the audience or look at the
Mhm.
chandeliers, like, there's
Yeah.
something to see. It's going to be an incredible experience. It's not just about what's on stage in a way.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I like to watch the audience when I go, because I'm on stage so much that it's kind of like
Right.
fun
Right.
to watch people, like I know everybody on stage, whatever. I want to
And
watch
it never gets old. Absolutely
never,
never gets old is
never.
when the lights, the little Sputniks
Yes.
dim and they raise.
Yeah.
It is, especially up in the box, because
Yeah.
it's coming right past your face.
Right, Pastor.
And again, it's one of those chilling moments, because it's like, this is the Met experience.
Yeah. Yep.
These Sputniks are amazing,
Right.
and then you have them come right past your face,
Yep.
and
Yep.
it's about to start. The orchestra's tuned, the lights are going up, maestro's coming into the pit.
It's magical.
What have I missed? Oh God, I've missed that.
Yeah.
Watching Met in HD and you get that nice view up onto the stage, and my heart was sinking so many times during the pandemic. I'm just like, want to be back there.
Yeah. Yep. Me too.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It's been tough. So, okay. So then you've written a book.
Yes.
So was this, when did you start writing this book? Was it before you became an opera critic, after you started writing for Opera Wire? What's the timeline of that?
What happened was with the book is it started out as something completely different. So it was before Opera Wire.
Wow.
And I had been reading a series of science fiction books. And so believe it or not, and space opera books. So big science fiction books. And I was
Wow.
like, you know what, I want to write something like that. And again, I had been writing stories since I was a kid. I had a little typewriter, everything. And I'd always wanted to create a really big story. But then as I got deeper and deeper into opera and writing about opera, I started to feel more confident in that, you know what, I can write a story around opera or situated within the opera world.
Yes.
And I think I can write it convincingly now. I've spoken to not just artists, but conductors, administrators, such a wide spectrum of people within the industry, vocal coaches, to be able to say, okay, I understand this world now, and I think I can take it on. So it was before Opera Wire, and then
Wow.
the way I write is very organic. So there are two types of writers. There are the planners who will have everything, note cards, every scene mapped out.
Uh-huh.
And then there are those like me, and I learned recently Stephen King does this as well, who are called pantsers. We fly by the seat of our pants.
Oh.
So I'll sit down and I'll start writing. I have an idea of kind of what I want to have happen, but then I let the characters be themselves and
Yes.
do what they are going to do in their lives. Now, those things might be absolutely horrible things, but they're doing them organically.
Right.
Again, I have this idea and I'm kind of moving them along there, but they're doing it themselves. And that's what's beautiful is then, I might write a draft and be like, oh, I like this. And then I go back and I revisit it. And like, what if she does this instead?
Right.
And all of a sudden the whole story kind of explodes in a good way and go, I know exactly where this is going, at least for the next chapter or so. And then that process starts over again. So it's incredibly organic. And I think that's what makes it fun. It's playtime for my mind. It's all of this really great information that I've gathered through life, through writing about opera, and then playing. It's my time in the sandbox.
Oh, I love that.
It's to create a world. Chris, create a world. And every time I sit down at the computer and I write fiction, that's exactly what happens.
Wow, I love that. And it's so interesting because what you're describing, you've just described also that there are two types of directors. There are the directors that come in and like, okay, who's playing this role? Okay, go upstage left, you enter here on this line, raise your right arm and look out here. And then there are the directors who I prefer to work with, who create worlds and create characters, and they trust everyone, and then the lives just start buzzing and things start happening. Like when I work with Phelan McDermott, who directed Akhenaten, that's the way he directs. And there's nothing like it, because things start happening, and they couldn't happen if the person was on their own in the room. It takes the energy between the people, right? So like you're describing, these characters come to life and you let them live. It's kind of a similar thing. Yeah.
And they live with me. It's always one of those things where you're like, I have a lot of conversations with myself, except they're with my characters kind of in my head, and I'm learning about them, and they're telling me things. And my main character, his name is Angelina. She's a soprano. She sings at the Met, and Angelina was a tough nut to crack. I knew, her sidekick, Lil, was very easy. there was no keeping her personality down. Angelina kept a lot hidden. And I know it sounds strange to think about perhaps fictional characters in this way, but there was a lot that I had to uncover. And once I did, then it was like, I get this.
Mm.
I get who you are, Angelina, and kind of why you've kept this hidden from me. And that's going to drive the plot because you're going to keep a lot hidden from a lot of other people.
Wow. I love that. It's so similar to creating character on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Because there's those that you can't crack, and then there are those that you're like, I know exactly what to do with this.
Mhm.
And, similar
Right.
thing, just a different, medium.
Absolutely.
Painting with different tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah. Well, fabulous. Can I ask you some questions?
Absolutely.
Zodiac sign.
Aries.
Favorite ice cream.
Mint chocolate chip.
If you had to eat an ice cream with a savory flavor, like a bacon or a cheese or something like that, what would it be?
It would probably be like an herb.
Oh,
I'm thinking like I don't know if sage would be that good, but it would be like kind of that really
yeah.
earthy, nice, flavorful herb.
Yeah, like sage, rosemary, something. Yeah.
Rosemary. That was actually the one I was thinking of.
Yum. First thing you ever saw on a stage ever in your life?
I was on it, I think.
Ooh.
I can't, and I can't remember. It was the high school play, or actually, it was the junior high school play, and I remember that I had to like put on a mustache or something, and that really bothered me. But
like a stick-on one?
That's the one that readily pops to mind. It was the one that I was in.
A play or a musical?
It was a play.
Cool.
Play. So I did theater and I did music in high school, and then I was a music minor in college. So.
Amazing. What was your major?
Literature.
Of course. Yes.
Yep.
This all makes perfect sense. Favorite work of art ever?
It's popped in my head, and I apologize if I mispronounce it, but Las Meninas, the picture by Velázquez, in which he's painting, and there's a little like girl and the dog, and there's a mirror, so you actually see Velázquez, or you see the couple that he's painting. And I've always been fascinated with that because it was such a meta picture, right?
Yeah.
In painting, you have Diego Velázquez, and then you have him. It's a very meta. So I caught on to that very fast, and I was like, that's
very cool. Yeah, very cool. Favorite opera?
Magic Flute. That's a hard question.
It's really hard.
It really is hard.
Yeah.
But Magic Flute, just the characters. I mean, the Queen of the Night. It's in the book. I mean, I think it's also that I was drawn to it before the book, and then it was part of the book. But yeah, I think the close second would be Tristan and Isolde.
Oh yeah. Favorite actor?
Johnny Depp.
Do you believe in past lives?
I do.
Whom might you have been in a past life?
I think I was a sailor. My forearm here, you probably can't see it, but it says hold fast with an anchor. And usually what sailors would do is they'd put it on their knuckles so that when they were holding onto a line in a storm, they would remind them to hold fast.
Wow.
Same thing with if they were in battle. It would always remind them, hold fast. So
Wow.
I didn't want to put it on my knuckles, so I put it on my inside of my arm.
That's pretty awesome. Okay, here's another tough one. You can only listen to one opera singer for the rest of your life. Who is it?
Pavarotti. I mean, I could listen to him forever. There's so many, but absolutely.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Favorite color?
Blue.
Favorite food?
Beef stroganoff was always my favorite food as a child.
Best vacation spot?
The beach. Yeah, put me on a beach any day.
I hear you. I am the same. Favorite song?
I think I'm going to go with Stripped by Depeche Mode.
All right, you can have an entire weekend away with anyone who's ever lived. This is like you can have a dinner with someone, but I'm giving you a weekend.
Okay. Ernest Hemingway.
Wow, yes. You're not a writer. What's your backup dream job?
It would be in music, for
Hmm.
sure.
What about if you could play any instrument?
Cello,
Yeah, me too. Do you believe in ghosts?
yes.
You can go to any planet.
I think I would go to Saturn.
You could live in any time period.
18th century is pretty cool.
Okay, you can spend a year living as another person. Who is it?
I'd say Hemingway again.
Yeah. You can go back in time and tell your younger self at any point in your life one thing.
Chill out.
What's the meaning of life?
The meaning of life to me is to bring beauty into this world. And in whatever form that is, whether it's an act of kindness to a stranger or to a friend, or writing a book, or writing a review or anything, I try to put this idea of how can I make this beautiful? And how can I bring joy through it into somebody's life? And this could be on the side, I don't know if I might fit this in, but being able to, one of the things I like most about writing properly is being able to elevate and support and promote the work of artists. That's really, really important to me. And yes, if I'm covering a show, I need to call balls and strikes. But I always do it with an eye towards, some people are going to have, nobody has a perfect night.
Right.
And in reality, I'm looking at far more than just what's going on vocally on stage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm looking at the big picture, and that's where the background of literature and music and theater kind of comes in. So it's about beauty. It's about sharing it, sending it out, and receiving it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've definitely elevated, supported, and promoted me and made my life more beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you, Zach. I appreciate it.
Absolutely true. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This has been a pleasure.
Likewise. I'm so glad that you asked me.
Is this your Dallas Opera debut?
It is, I guess.
Very cool. Fabulous.
I have had a major house debut.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is great.
It's a house too. Fabulous. Well, I'm not going to review your performance, but
you may.
That's all for today's episode. Thanks for stopping by. Uppies and rainbows till we meet again.